Welcome to Live on One, a miniature-focused hobby podcast. My name is Stephen Maddox, and today I'm here with Jian.
Hello.
And today we're going to do a more of a short-form episode, kind of like one of our Turn Zero episodes, but a little bit of a spin on it. Recently, we had our charity event down in New Hampshire for Live on One for the cancer research to Dana-Farber. And Jian and I actually paired against each other round two, which was super fun. I was like, oh, this is going to be... I think I posted a picture in a Discord being like, this is a very thoughtful game or a very sweaty game right now.
It was very sweaty, but very fun.
Yeah.
I think someone cropped me, and now I'm like an emoticon on the Discord.
Yeah, I think you're an emoji now on the Discord, yeah.
Oh,
you just doing a thumbs up.
What have you done? Yeah.
But I had thought, hey, this game I thought was pretty unique because we'll talk about Jian here in a second too, but he did a pretty spicy tech piece on me, which I was not expecting at all. And then I had a lot of like pitfalls and things that I kind of caught as like, hey, this was a mistake, right? I think I played this incorrectly or I deployed this wrong. So I learned a lot from this game. And just like when you're done playing the game, you usually like talk to your opponent about, hey, how this went. I thought this would make a good little short content episode. We will have a whole recap episode on the tournament, but as you can imagine, we usually record on Sundays, and none of us really felt like trying to record after playing MCP for, I don't know, like 10 hours that day. So we took this week off, and I figured I could sneak this out real quick.
Sounds good. Yeah, no, for sure. It was a good day, though. Like, a lot of money raised and a lot of good games played, so couldn't ask for a better event.
Absolutely. Really successful. We'll probably do it again in the future, so I would definitely think we would. And I'll probably help Bork more, because he seemed a little bit like, oh my gosh, there's a lot going on here, so I probably won't be playing next year.
Yeah. Shout outs to Stephen Bork. We will praise him when he's not here, that he did a great job, and he did do a lot of the heavy lifting. So
he did.
Thank you again, Stephen.
That whole event happened because of Stephen. Like, I will not take any credit into it. He did it all himself, basically, with Nick.
Yes.
Cool. So then, with these episodes, we'd like to run through each of our lists. So, Jian, do you want to go first and just walk through your Web Warriors list?
Sure, yeah. This is actually a combination Web's Avengers list. So from the website, we have Miles Morales, we have Ghost Spider, we have Black Cat, Spectacular Spider-Man, and then also Amazing Spider-Man. On the Avenger side, we have Hulk, King T'Challa, Shang-Chi, Captain America, Sam Wilson, and we just also have a Wong as a Splash 2 threat that's not affiliated with either's affiliation.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, would you like them to go through the Tactics cards as well?
Yeah, I say so. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So Tactics cards are as follows. For our restricted, we took Brace for Impact and Fallback. We also took Survival. And then moving into our affiliated cards, we have All Webbed Up, Aunt May's Wheat Cakes, Spider Tracker. We have Avengers Assemble, Second Wind. Clone Saga actually was also another Web Warriors card that we took. And finally, we did also take Wisdom of the Ancestors, since it would help keep T'Challa out in that case. For the Crisis, as we are still exploring, but we're currently on Spider Infected, Struggle for the Cube, and Scientific Samples for extracts. For the Secures, we have Cosmic Invasion, Riot Sparks Extremis, and Infinity Formula.
Cool, yeah. I forgot about that had the Avengers splash in it. I remember thinking that when I looked at your list.
Mm-hmm.
But I figured, surprise, surprise, we'll talk about the mission play, but it was a double D map that we were on, so I figured Avengers probably was not going to come out on a double D. And then,
it's possible. Yeah, it's for different situations, but like you could potentially also see that.
Yeah, I'm sure you could, especially with Sam Wilson leadership, but I was just taking the gamble there that I was probably seeing webs.
Fair enough.
And surprise, surprise, I was right. So then my list, I'll run through. As you can imagine, I'm playing S.H.I.E.L.D. Very original, I know. So I was running both Nick Fury, so Nick Fury Jr. and Nick Fury Sr., the Helen Commandos. Namor the Submariner without a time gem. The Black Widow, which is the 4-threat Black Widow. Spectacular Spider-Man. Iron Man 3-threat, so the original core box one. Agent Venom. And then I run double twos in this list for some reason. Bullseye and Toad. And then Hulk as a little splash there at the end. My tactics cards, my two restricteds were Brace for Impact and Sacrifice. And then I had Survival, Recalibration, Matrix, Helios, Laser. And then my more S.H.I.E.L.D. specific ones was Battlefield Medicine, Sit Rep, the Shieldmobile, the Invaders Leadership, Eye in the Sky. And then my three secures were Deadline to Destruction, Imcran Crystals, Get Heroes Home, and then Guardian Save Shi'ar Empress. I guess since this is kind of newer, those are Deadline to Destruction is the switched in D-map, and then Imcran Crystal and Guardian Save Shi'ar Empress are the new pay to flips, like the sword replacement and then the other pay to flip one. Yep. Then my extracts are Montesi Formula, Hammers, and Inhuman Weapons Deploy Advanced Weaponry. I think I've talked about this before. I like bringing these extracts because they make my grunts better, which is like the big play there.
Yeah, you get a ton of power, right, from Nick Fury's passive abilities with the grunts, so it's
exactly. Yeah, we're getting a good beam on the grunts to give Nick a bunch of power is really fun. So then you won priority, right? Yeah,
I did,
so.
and surprise, surprise, I didn't really want to deal with any of your pay to flip tech, so like, and also I didn't feel like getting beamed by the grunts, so we well, actually, no. I'm sorry. I take that back. We just didn't want to do the pay to flips because we're baking the fact we're probably going to get Montesi or Inhuman weapons actually. So we took a gamble, and I think we pulled up. I think Riots was the secure, right?
Yep, Extremis.
Yep. And then for the extract, I believe we got hammers, right? Fear grips.
Fear grips. And it was funny because every time I played against Web Warriors in a tournament, it has been on Extremis. And it was funny because Maddox was behind you and literally heard it and turned around and told me about it. And I was like, yay, we're doing it again.
Yep.
Which made me laugh. So yeah, do you want to run through your team that you brought out? Because we played on 18 threat off of the hammers. So do you want to run through your team that you brought out and then I'll run through mine?
Sure, yeah. Do you want to give our thoughts of like why we picked them, like as we're talking about them, or do you want to wait until after we both announce?
I would say, yeah, give your thoughts about why you picked them.
Okay, all right. So I figured that your list had Namor as a pretty big focal like factor, and since we're on a D map, it was going to be ideal for him to sort of like hover around like different places. So we decided that we're also just going to meet that speed, so that's why ASM like was one of our first picks like into this list. Miles went right afterwards because we wanted just the option of both leaderships, and then from there, looking at it, I figured that the normal Web Warriors 3s would probably be good just to keep up with the speed, so we had Ghost Spider and Black Cat. So normally, if this was 17 threat, I think I would just go with Sam Wilson at this point. But because we went to 18, I had one more extra threat to play with. We brought in Shang-Chi instead. And I figured Shang-Chi should be able to hold down at least one flank by himself, and if he ever gets a hammer, like his punches should hurt very significantly, you know. So yeah, we felt pretty good about that. For the tactics cards, since we don't have Chi Mastery, we decided just to go with just a very generic set of cards that'll just be good for scenario play. So we have both Brace for Impact, Fallback, all webbed up, Spider Tracker, and we also brought Survival into this list, which in retrospect, I wasn't sure if that's actually that great of an idea because like Namor actually ignores Survival. So if I had played that the wrong time, I think I could have been put in for a world of hurt there.
Yeah, I mean, you probably could have gotten away from that actually, because I don't think I knew that. I guess I would have read the card when you played it probably, because I was like, you have to make sure I'm on top of it, and I probably would have caught it, but that's a good point. Namor gets around that.
Yeah, he's got some very interesting tech in there, but I think that would have come up in the match, like if it did come up.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we decided to do that. It was going to be a wide map because the extracts and the secures are both D shapes. It meant that people had to commit very hard to like different flanks, basically, especially if their movement's more limited. So yeah, that was the initial thought. But I guess I'll leave it to you to talk about your list now.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about mine, and let's talk about your leadership after that, because I think that was a good play. So mine was pretty, looking back on it, so at the time being, I had the same mindset of like, oh, I'm playing on D maps. I need to be able to rotate around. I think I've played against you before in the past with webs, and we had a conversation about like, you can't just like sit back and let you score, right? I need to reach out. I need to touch things. I need to deny you points, right? So I brought Nick Jr., obviously, because Nick Jr. is great. You almost never bring him. Or I almost never not bring him, excuse me. Namor Toad. I wanted some more extract play to see, hey, if I could have the hammers and run away a little bit. Spectacular Spider-Man, because again, he can rotate around a little bit. And then a weird one was the Black Widow, so the 4-threat Black Widow. I had originally looked at that and I thought, oh, long move, small base. All right, cool. I can rotate around the D maps. I can reach out. I can touch people. She's got martial artist. She can reroll. She's really tanky. So I was like, hey, I could be really obnoxious. I could dive forward with her, right, and just really push her really far deep with it. So that was like my original thought. I'll kind of caveat, I don't think that was the right choice, obviously. We'll circle back to that. I'll do the rest of my list first, though. And then kind of going more with like, hey, I need to be aggressive with this list. I need to try to reach out as best as I can. I brought my two movement tech cards as shield, so I brought both the Shield Mobile and Sit Rep. I
Yep.
dropped Sacrifice basically to bring both of those, and then I brought Brace, Battlefield Medicine, and Eye in the Sky. Because I have learned a couple plays against webs where I can play Eye in the Sky more aggressively, where I can actually just Eye in the Sky forward to then like set myself up for the next activation to be closer to you.
Yeah.
So that was my thought. And then I guess we'll talk about it now. So the Black Widow 4th threat. I think she was a mistake. I didn't realize it until, God, like after round 4, I think I came back to you and I was like, wait a second, why'd I do that? That was really weird. What it should have been is I have Agent Venom in my list, and I was playing against a Webs character. I probably should have brought Agent Venom because he ignores your rerolls, right? And I think my mindset of like, oh, I want to be able to move and rotate. He could still move and rotate. He's got a web swing on his kit, right? So I think I would kind of just overlooked it, and I was focused too much on the Black Widow because I've been playing her a lot recently, and I forgot about that splash piece. Not even a splash piece, affiliated for me. I forgot about that piece in my list. Another one I don't really like that I brought here was Toad. I think Bullseye probably would have been better for what happened in this game. Because there wasn't a whole, like, there was only 4 extracts, right? There wasn't a whole lot of extracts being passed around. I think Bullseye, if he picked up a hammer and sat there and was throwing 5 dice range 4 attacks with, like, I never miss, I probably would have gotten more value out of Bullseye than I did out of Toad.
I would agree with that, yeah. What Toad does do, though, he does let you rotate the extracts around, so there could be a time where, Finders Keepers gets played. And, if you see that, someone's in a precarious situation, they're going to lose their hammer. Toad could be like, go ahead and snap it, before that gets too bad.
Yeah.
I will say, though, the Black Widow wasn't, like, necessarily a terrible choice, because, like, if you are going to be very aggressive with the hammers, right, if she was, like, the first one to pick up your side hammer, basically, right? So after I decided to pick up one hammer and you decided to pick up the other hammer with Widow, I think she would have been in a pretty good spot, actually.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, it's just that, like, she was spending the entire time of the game, like, trying to find a hammer, and it just never kind of manifest, right?
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. So real quick before we dive into it, because I have a couple of thoughts too, let's go over your leadership, because you caught me way off guard. I thought you were joking at first when you said it to me, with who you brought as your leader.
Oh, I was dead serious, Maddox. Dead serious. So after not playing Amazing Spider-Man's leadership, a Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, for I think several years at this point, it just kind of like a light bulb clicked into my head. Organically at that time, I didn't plan for it. I just looked at the board, I looked over, and it was like, oh, I have priority. You have 2 very important long movers that need to be within short range to do any of their work. I think this actually might be the time we're using Amazing Spider-Man's leadership. And so
did you pick it? Did you pick Amazing Spider-Man first and then look at the board state and say, hey, I want this leadership? Or did you go in saying, hey, I'm going to play this leadership?
What it came down to was that I knew that Amazing Spider-Man would be, since I have priority, would be a great person to go get a hammer with. So we were just going to put him in immediately. I think it was really upon us revealing and deploying, and like after we, went back and deployed each of our models down, that I decided it's like, oh my god, this could be it. Like the stars are aligned, that we're actually going to be able to get some good usage out of this leadership.
Yeah, because you did. You did. I think Namor was slowed that whole game.
Yeah, I don't think he ever got above a short movement tool like that entire game, actually, for anything.
Yeah. And I try to be cheeky, and because like if I had the time gem on him, it would have been a little bit differently because I would have had more power. But he was a little power starved at the start, and there were a couple times where I was like, hey, I could try to Battlefield Medicine using like Black Widow's power to take his slow off, and then you're like, okay, I'll just double move Black Cat over there and do it again. I'm like, cool, I shouldn't have done that. So yeah, he didn't really do any movement at all that game, which was painful.
Yeah, I mean, he was able to. You did do a good job of keep him in like a certain vector of the map, and there's always targets that he could charge and like hit. So that ended up working out pretty well. But it did make it really hard for him to like, I guess, double tap the right person. Correct. A lot of the times.
Yep, that was my biggest issue. I couldn't double tap, and I couldn't do my steal very often. Because of how like I would have to take a move and then charge, right, or something like that. So I just didn't have the power to like charge and hit somebody, gain power, and spender you to make you drop your assets until like the very end of the game.
Yes, yeah, and especially since when you're dealing with a non-time gem Namor, like you can be very like I guess like you can be very cagey with him,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes he's not able to get enough resources to do everything that he needs to do, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was a really important consideration.
Absolutely. Do you feel like if you saw I had like Agent Venom instead of the Black Widow on my board deployed, would you have been like, maybe it is Miles, or would you think still with that Namor alone, would you consider ASM?
Um, I think I would still consider it because if you think
Mm-hmm.
about it, Agent Venom, like he turns off the thing that Miles would have given me anyway. So like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm not losing anything, right, by taking that leadership
Yeah.
like against Agent Venom.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way you kind of look at it. And
Mm-hmm.
at the floor of it is that I spend a power for you to spend a power, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Because he's got the Project 2.0, like
Mm-hmm.
Project Rebirth, I think. What is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's Project Rebirth 2.0. So I think put those
Yeah.
both together.
So he's able just to remove a condition for a power, which is a often really, underutilized. Well, I guess like people don't rate it as his kit that high, but I was like, I think that's such a great
It's
part of his kit.
phenomenal. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just solves like so many things. It's not even shake action too, so you
Yeah.
can't have Scarlet Witch or anyone like stop him from shaking it because it's not a shake. He's
Nope.
just removing the
Mm-hmm.
condition.
Gets rid of
Which is so
stagger
good.
too. Like he can't be staggered because of it, as long as there's one power.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
super good.
Yeah. It is really, really good. I also like thinking about this, I really regret not taking Clone Saga in this match.
The most spectacular Spider-Man, yeah.
Because you had Spectacular Spider-Man. Oh man, I would have loved to
That would have been
use
hilarious, and then he
Yeah.
would have died even faster.
Yeah.
Let's talk about my deployment, because then that kind of will bring up why I don't think Spectacular Spider-Man was played to his strength. So I know it's kind of hard to visualize in an audio podcast, but I had Namor and the Black Widow in the middle, and then I had
Yep.
Toad just to the left, Spectacular Spider-Man on the far right, kind of going for that hammer. And then for some reason I put Nick Jr. and the grunts on the left side, thinking I would kind of push heavier into that left side. You were very intelligent, saying, hey, look at that. I'm going to grab that hammer first, so my grunts
Yep.
do not get it. And then I was left in this weird situation where originally I had put the Black Widow and Namor right in the middle, being, hey, I want to think about diving into your back point, right? I was thinking about double moving Namor forward to land your back point. But then as it kind of went and he took the hammers, I kind of got caught off guard a little bit with it. And I didn't have the home hammer picked up because I was like, I want to pick that up with Namor. But then I was like, I kind of want to dive. So then he was kind of just sitting there as an awkward position where he had to kind of move slightly to pick up my home hammer and then trying to long move to one of the side points to be part of that action. I think that was incorrect. Something you mentioned earlier that I'm going to circle back to is that Finders Keepers on Toad. I was wondering if, hey, like, could have that been a play where I kind of maybe try to move my hammers around a little bit more with Toad and just had him pick up the home point instead of trying to force it onto Namor. But I definitely kind of got stuck. And then also with the terrain setup, Black Widow, I kind of got slowed down by the terrain where it's like, hey, all right, she's in the middle, I can double long move one or another. But there was a size 4 in that left piece of terrain that was kind of angled so you could kind of tuck behind it, and I would have to go around it a little bit to hit the point. I think that slowed her way down, unfortunately, too.
Yeah. So I think Widow probably was not. I think she probably should have been the one instead of Spectacular to probably pick up the other side hammer if you could do it, because we probably talked about this before, but a long mover, short small base is able to just deploy in the middle and just can V shape to either side of a D map as far as the hammer goes. So basically I was wondering if the terrain would stop you from that, but I think what happened was you had deployed Spectacular relatively early. I would say probably second to last or third to last character, I would say.
Yep.
And at that point I was like, okay, we can definitely put Shang-Chi across from Spectacular.
And I think I even verbalized it when you put Shang-Chi way off on the side right in front of that hammer. I was even like, oh crap. I was like, oh, this is bad. Because you're right. If I had the Black Widow over there, she at least has some mystic defense tech on her. Spectacular Spider-Man, I was like, well, he's going to move up there, and then I'm going to try to run away as fast as I possibly can. Because I do not want to sit there and get punched by Shang-Chi's 6-dice mystic attacks.
Yeah, we felt more confident about that, Maddox, because we had priority. So since we both went 5 wide each, essentially, I knew I could start that turn. And if we start that turn engaged with Spectacular, it didn't feel particularly bad, trying to punch him out,
Yeah. And then you use your leadership to slow him. So even when I wanted to run away and rotate back over and say, I'm going to abandon this right point, I'm going to focus on the left one, I was like, great, I can kind of move slow, impact webbing somebody to get 2 power and web swing. But made it a little bit challenging.
Yeah, yeah. And let's see, what was I thinking? Yeah, so and Miles picked up my home point. He was just deployed just to do that. I figured that if you go into him with Namor, that probably means he has enough power to web swing back and like then blast you back,
Yeah.
in response.
Yeah.
So we didn't feel like too terrible about that.
Mm-hmm.
Ghost Spider, I think we just kept him around like the Nick Fury bubble
Yep.
and whatnot and just try to maintain Widow, because as long as we can keep Widow outside of our range 2 of our other characters, she becomes a lot less effective, because she doesn't have
Yep.
a lot of action compression unless she starts within 2 of her spender.
Yep, exactly. And so yeah, you kind of walk forward. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be cheeky. I'm gonna tuck the Black Widow in this terrain piece so you can't push her off the point. But then you're like, okay, cool, I'll just do it, and then I'll just webline you off. And so you pulled me off anyways. Something that I had realized is what I'm used to sit rep being a little bit like the aggressive turn 1 play, right? Where like I sit red Hulk up in the middle, right? I need to learn more that like sit rep is also a very good, just like, I mean, this is still like turn 1, but still like it can be more for like the secure play, right? So what I think I should have done is when I went with the Black Widow first, you then went with Ghost Spider, you pulled her off the point. I went with Nick and I pushed the grunts and Nick all the way forward to be able to actually activate with them next turn so they can do something. Because I was like, I can't just like lose this side of the board and then I lose both sides, then I'm like way down on points. I also have a mindset of like with Nick Jr., I try to preserve his power so I can actually get Eye in the Sky off more often. But what I think I should have done that turn 1 play is I could have then sit rep the Black Widow back onto that point and got her closer into the combat to actually do something, right? Because you're right. The next turn, I think I just moved once and I shot Miles with like a range 3 attack. Like it wasn't anything super cool. It was just like a little, oh, cool, I did something to gain power. So it kind of would have put her back in the game. I think that would have been a nice little important move, but now I know. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, against webs, and I think we've had some discussion about this before. Using sit rep, using Eye in the Sky more aggressively, right, to get yourself back onto a point, rather than trying to cancel attacks sometimes, right? You're just trying to like put them back in a position where like your characters are able to get their their full turns worth of actions, right?
Yeah, and being able to like, oh, okay, cool, I can attack you twice, because you also have like Spider Tracker and Fallback, where it's like I knew I could have trouble maybe pinging you twice for reasons where or having to move in and attack you probably wouldn't happen well. So yeah, I kind of learned that, and then again, something else, I was depending on Shield Mobile a little bit later in the game to be able to rotate and do that. But the way that slow works is everything uses a short tool, right? So it turns the Shield Mobile from a long move into a short move. So I was still also stuck like, oh man, I want a Shimobile Namor across the map, but I can still only go small. So it really my leadership really kind of threw me for a loop, I think. And it kind of showed, I think, because I think I was so like, oh, I don't know what to do here. I then deployed really funky, and my turn 1 was really not ideal.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think that the models, like, it still would have been fine for the most part, but yeah, it's like, you need to be able to like grab the extracts with like the right people.
Yep.
And from there you can sort of like still use, the tool, because Eye in the Sky is still like an incredible, regenerative like tactics card that you have in faction that you probably could have kept the hammers like relatively safe as long as like certain characters didn't build the power that they need, because using that leadership, it still taxed Black Cat's power economy, which is rough because like I do wish she could steal, but most times she was just walking either walk or walk attack, and then I still want to like put a slow on somebody, but it kept her from using the rest of her kit unless someone like went into her, unfortunately. So it is still hard to use, I think, because the power economy for webs, unless you get a big builder, tends to be very limited. So you have to be very careful like where you're allocating that power for different powers you're using or whether or not you're using it for leadership, etc.
Yeah, I agree with you. Speaking of that, does it change based on your like the crisis setup? Like, would you never bring that? I guess there's not very like super closed in maps. I guess we have the new sword base and a couple squeeze in ones that are like intrusions, but like, do you think it's more beneficial in the more spread out maps, obviously, because you're putting that slow one?
Yeah, I think like a sword based distance would be too close personally, and the deadline destruction is probably too close. But like the D shapes and maybe even the B shapes, things that would require some sort of commitment movement-wise to rotate from point to point,
Yeah.
is when you could potentially consider Peter's leadership, I think.
Hmm.
Especially if the other team is very reliant on long movers. That's the thing. It's like when I looked at your list, Maddox, I'm just like, oh, there's at least like two very like speed-based characters that
Yep.
it's not like it's a Hulk where they just move short and they just like go wherever they want.
Yep.
Like these are smaller base models that really need that mobility to get the most out of their kits.
Hmm.
So if you do that, it becomes a much harder like scenario for them to play then, and
Yeah.
that's how you kind of evaluate it from there.
Yeah. So yeah, I've dropped Toad from this list since his last event, and I now have Hawkeye in there just because I think the double 2 and shield, it was cheeky and fun, but I don't think I get enough output from them to really make it worthwhile. And or I just kind of always feel like when I have Toad, I'd be like, I wish I had Bullseye instead of Toad. And that might just because I've not played Toad as much, and I might have some bias there, but I changed it up since then.
Yeah, it depends. So if you're running like legacy virus and stuff like
Mhm.
in your list, for instance, like I think Toad's always consideration because he's the guy that can assemble your viruses, which is
Mhm.
nice.
Mhm.
But also Toad is a semi-safe grab, so the fact is he can kind of grab something and then like duck out of there.
Mhm.
For the most part, like he'll usually be alive.
Yeah.
It's not too bad.
And I feel like with my list, I have Namor, obviously, but then my grunts kind of work as a semi-safe grab sometimes too. So I'm not
Yeah.
sure how much I need to like force a third one in there.
Oh no, yeah, you're right. Actually,
Yeah.
yeah. Between the grunts and the fact you're still running Widow 4, and
Exactly.
I think Widow 4, or sorry, Widow 4 threat, Widow
Mhm.
3, she's very underplayed for
Yeah.
how good I think
Yeah.
she is.
Yeah. Just don't be like me and try to like bring her into situations where it's maybe not the best choice.
I mean, like I said, like literally if she was the first one to grab a hammer on your side, I think she would have been fine for that game, honestly.
Yeah.
Because that would have forced me to interact with her, Maddox.
That's fair. Yeah. And especially if she's on Namor's side, where Namor is that range to attack her.
Yeah.
Where like, yeah, I don't get martial artist against you, but hey, like at least I could gain some power, be able to full reroll if I need to, and then I can also I like shoot mobile because you don't have to play it on your activation. So I can shoot the Black Widow up there. She takes some damage. She's up to 3 power, and then I can shoot mobile her away on my next activation. I agree with you. That probably would have a lot better play for her on the right aspect.
Yeah. Yeah. We also should call out the fact that you are using Nick Fury's leadership as well, which I thought was a great call out in this matchup, by the way.
Yeah, because I think I did that. We ended up fighting on like my home D point. I felt like for like 3 rounds for the most of the game, and I did try to aggressive like around it a little bit to try to get away from you. I think to some effect, I would say, but I do like that Nick Jr. leadership a lot more in these new crisis setups.
Yeah, it certainly is a pain in the rear when we have to do impact webbings, and we're just hoping to just get you a push, but no damage. But if we get a damage through, then usually that means you can walk onto the point, which is rough. But it's good because if you need to rotate, like I think that aggressive like really helped.
Yeah,
and it did score you that one extra point because I think you were down 1 point one of the rounds, and you did, and we had to kill the grunts because like if we didn't, the grunts would do incredible work next turn.
Yep.
So we just gave you the BV as a result.
Yeah, and I'll be like, okay, I'll take that. That's fine. And I guess we'll spoil this. In the end, I ended up winning, but not because I outplayed you. I just spiked defense dice on Namor, and I rolled 4 defense. I rolled 4 defense, and I blocked 6 things. Because you were doing I think you spendered me, and then buildered me with an all webbed up from Amazing Spider-Man, and I just magically spiked defense dice, and Namor did not die, and he was holding 3 hammers after I stole them from you.
Sounds like a skill issue on my end.
Yeah, apparently. I thought your way of explaining it at the end, where it's like, I felt good about every move I played, but I still lost the game. It's like, man, that is unfortunate. But a really good, like, hey, you should feel good about that, right? And I got stupid lucky and I spiked dice.
Yeah, but I mean, like, this is the game we're playing, and like, there's a reason why the matches are like well under 2 hours, right? For the most part, because the activations and the dice rolls can be so explosive sometimes that you just get like very interesting results. So I just hope that more people can eventually do that. Is like, I want you to look at the game you played, and if you honestly felt like you did everything you could, like decision wise, then I would say that you should still walk over the table with your head held high, even if you lost the game, at the end of the day, because it's important for you to feel good about like the way you play and the decisions you make. Because otherwise, like it's like we'll just be rolling Yahtzee dice all day, and like that's not really a skill expression, right?
Exactly. And I think to play off that with the inverse of it, I could have walked away from the game like, yeah, I won. But no, I kind of walked away. I was like, I don't think I deserved that win. Like, I kind of got lucky and spiked dice. I made a lot of mistakes. I was thinking about it 2 rounds later, and I came up to you and I was like, why the hell did I not bring Agent Venom? So like, there's always something you can learn from a game. It's not only losses that you can actually learn from. I feel like winning, you can still be like, okay, what could I have done better, right? And then also something I think it's important is, I think it was like round 3. I was like, I think this game is over for me, because the way you had like Shang-Chi sitting up, you had Miles sitting in a really good spot to whip swing and steal. I was like, I am not doing hot here. But I was like, yeah, we'll keep playing, right? For these reasons. Sometimes you spike dice and you get bailed out on bad decisions.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing, and that's why I do love Marvel, like at the end of the day, because I always feel like you're kind of in the game, right, in some way, and you should never count yourself quite out as long as you're looking for the victory like pathways. They may be slimmer like chance wise, but they exist. Why not take them, right? At this point.
Yeah. Or like then you can kind of like my first round game I played Nick McNard, and I also just spiked dice like crazy and won. And he brought up a good point where it's like sometimes if you're up and ahead because your dice is rolling well, you don't need to take those greedy plays, and you can be more conservative. And so it kind of gives you a feeling one way or another, like, hey, do I need to pivot to be greedy on things and try to make things happen, or be more relaxed, and kind of play more defensive and cagey or something like that. But so yeah, it's a good example of why I love this game as well, because there's a lot of going on in this game at always times. It makes you think really hard.
Yeah, agreed. But it's I don't know. Comebacks are fun, dude. Like I don't know what to tell you. Like a game where my opponent can come back or I can come back, it's fun, dude. Right?
Yeah. I think when I had that Namor live, I remember like he needs to. All right, if he lives, I can win this game, right? So I was like, all right. So then I was like, I still had Shimu. I'm like, I'm gonna Shimu you small away, because then like you basically had Ghost Spider on the far right, and then the Black Cat left to attack him. So I was like, I'm gonna Shimu him away. And then he came to run over to punch him with the Black Cat. I'm like, I'm going to Eye in the Sky away. Like, I'm going to try to get him into the corner as far as I can to try to preserve this dream.
Yep.
Yeah.
And preserved you did. Yeah. I think at that point, I had to kill Toad, I think. Because if I killed Toad, like I was able to keep the game maybe going for.
Yeah, because I wouldn't be able to take my left secure point if you did that.
Yeah. But that's still a far and away like thing, because oh no, you know what? You still won by 1 point, I think, at the end. So never mind. That was regardless. I remember it. I feel like it was important at the time, but I can't remember the specifics, unfortunately. It was close. I think we ended 17-14. That was the final score.
Yeah. Namor had 3 hammers on him, so like that was the play right there that kept the game in me, or kept the game alive for me.
Yep.
Yeah. You got any other thoughts about this game in particular, or about your list in particular?
Just I should have taken Clone Saga. What can I say? Survival never played because the thing is like the game was scoring so fast. Because they're 8 points, and we are all built to try to get those 8 points in some way. Survival may have been overrated. I think in retrospect, like it's a slight meme, but I actually think I should have taken Clone Saga, because there was a good chance you were going to take Spectacular, and I would have been very surprised if you didn't take your most mobile 3.
Yeah, especially on the DMAP, right? I agree with you. Like he's my best mobile 3. Like I like the Howling Commandos a lot, but I looked at them. I was like, they would just sit on that back point and do nothing. So yeah, that probably would have been a pretty safe guess.
Yeah, that was my only slight regret of that game, Maddox. Very, very small.
Something I kind of wish I like. Obviously, I dropped Toad for Hawkeye. I think Hawkeye would have been helpful on this map setup. I don't know how he would have fit into 18 at this point. I would have to look at it, but I think having a range 5 with a trigger of a slow myself would have been a little beneficial to actually still reach out, and then he has Hooker to move around still. But I need to test him out in the future.
Yeah, I mean he could be a person that grabs your back point, and then just set up for next turn to start plinking people.
Yep.
Or you can start you can play him across from somebody and start like harassing them right immediately.
Yeah. I always forget. Like I'm always like a little like, oh, he doesn't do a lot. I'm like, but he's a 3-threat. He doesn't have to do a lot. He has a range 5 gun. I always
he's got a range 5 gun that can slow people. Yeah. So on a D map, that's kind of a huge deal.
Yeah, and you showed me that, so maybe I'll remember it now. Well, yeah. So it was a good game. I think we'll wrap up here unless you have anything else. that you remember specifically from it. But I thought I learned a lot from it, and I appreciate you talking it out with me because, again, that's how I like to learn from these games, to think about how things could have been done differently.
No, likewise. It was a shot in the dark, and it was ended up being a lot of fun to play. And I think mechanically, it was much more interesting than I thought it was going to be, but in a good way. So I think I want to explore Peter's leadership a little more if the situation calls for it.
I think you should, especially with these crisis setups where I think movement's very important. I think it can be a good, and maybe not all the time, but to have it in your back pocket like this, I think it was really good to have. Yeah,
no, agreed. Yeah. Those the leader pieces in webs are just solid pieces. So you always have that flexibility, right? If you want it.
Yep. And I think another thing that people should do, your Red Room training videos on RSMP tabletops on YouTube. Din is doing some videos on just advanced little techniques to know in this game. So he did one on deployment of hey, this, for example, the Black Widow, like you talked about, small base, long move, you can put in the middle and do kind of a V into either side point. I maybe should have watched that to get a refresher in my brain before playing this tournament, because I think that is super helpful for this kind of scenario that I got stuck into.
Yep. And if you may have noticed, Maddox, if you were to think about it, where I deployed Black Widow, or sorry, not Black Widow, Black Hat and folks, they were ready to go to either side as a result. So, and also for Amazing Spider-Man too, because he can go V-shape very easily as well. Yeah. And he can grab Peter Hammer, which is really nice.
Absolutely.
And the other video, which is more subjective, is the sort of thought process what I had as far as if you have priority or you don't have priority, and what counter deploying kind of looks like for you.
Yeah, so give them watch. They're really good videos.
Yep. Hopefully I can make some more soon. So as soon as some filming schedule opens up with Josh, hopefully we'll get some more out, because I have a lot of thoughts about turn 0 stuff, maybe roster building and things like that. So hopefully we'll be able to get to that.
Absolutely.
Stay tuned.
Perfect. Anywhere else people can find you or anything like that?
Mostly you'll find me in some Connecticut shops, RSMP Tabletop, this podcast as well. I know Stephen Bork is don't forget to mention you're here too. It's but they're already listening, so they know I'm here. Anyway, never mind.
But don't sell yourself short, right?
Yep, don't sell ourselves short, right? At the end of the day. So yes, I'm also happy to be on the Live One, which is a great podcast hosted by yours.
Well, we appreciate you because you make us think. You're a very skilled player. You think about a lot of really detailed stuff, which is always really, really helpful to think about in this game.
I appreciate it, Maddox. Likewise, though, you're also a great player.
Except for I deploy really weird. I'm like, what am I doing? But hey, that's part of the fun, I guess. That's how you learn.
Exactly.
Cool. Then look forward. We should next week have a recap episode on this tournament. And then I guess I'll spoil it now. We're probably going to try to get the 2 people that went 4-0 at this tournament. One is Mike, who played webs. And then the second one was a guy who went 4-0 with Weapon X. So we're definitely going to want to talk about that, because what the hell?
Yeah, no, they should be good. I've known Mike for a bit now. He's a really cool guy, and he's been, put his nose to the grindstone for webs, and the results are finally showing. So I'm very proud of him.
Absolutely, always fun to talk to you too.
Yes,
perfect. Then we'll end it there, and like always, Godspeed, Agent Venom.